This year, the big overarching theme was collaboration across differences. I really believe that as a movement, the plant-based vegan and animal advocacy movement, we need to learn how to grow stronger together and to be strong enough to have difficult conversations and build that resilience as a big team.
Hi there and welcome to Plant CEO. In today's episode, I'd like to welcome Julia Reinelt, the chair of AVA International. Hey Julia, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Anand, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you've just come off your latest summit, which was in LA, which we're going to come to in a minute, but it'd be great to hear just a little bit about your background and how you started the Animal and Vegan Advocacy Summit.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I know we've had some back and forth with timings and stuff, so it's really great to be on your show today.
I'm glad we got there.
I know, we finally got there.
Yeah.
My journey started quite a while ago. So my eyes were opened essentially through the book Eating Animals. So I'm a classic eating animals person. So in 2010, at that time, I was already kind of looking for, what I would do with my life. I just started college and I knew I wanted to have an impact and do something meaningful, have an impactful job. I didn't know what type of impact yet. So that book came at the right time. I was looking into journalism, politics, law, potentially. And when I read it, I immediately realized, wow, this is absolutely insane, what's going on. I pretty much overnight decided that that was what I wanted to do and what I wanted to dedicate my life to. So I started working I'm German, as you can probably tell by my accent. So I used to live in Germany, and my first job after college was for an organization called the German Vegetarian Union. Now they are known as ProVeg.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know they. Yeah, I essentially started working for ProVeg when they weren't ProVeg yet. And I met Sebastian Joy.
So was Sebastian there from the beginning?
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Right.
So he was there from the very early days on, and we were 30, 50 people in a small office in Berlin. And then it just, grew so fast and into this massive international organization that it is now. I had various roles at ProVeg. I started in the press department and then, built up their startup incubator, worked on strategy and organizational development. And yeah, it was a great time. Still very impressed by what ProVeg is doing. And at some point, I decided to move into the for-profit sector. So I started working for a retailer back in Germany, and I actually did animal welfare campaigns for them and vegan product launches. So it was an interesting perspective to kind of switch and look at our movement and the work from the other side.
Was it a clothes retailer or what sort of retailer was it?
Grocery store, grocery retailer.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all kinds of a full, a full retailer. They do clothes actually too, and some cosmetic products, but mostly it's groceries.
Right.
So yeah, and then, after a few years there, I kind of realized that I was at another turning point in my life. So my first son was born, and I kind of took some time off, and I wanted to return to the animal advocacy movement. And again, Sebastian, back from my ProVeg days, he knew this, and he was kind of part of the founding team around what is now AVA International. So he kind of made the connection, and that's how I got involved.
That's amazing. And so back in 2010, did you sort of decide to go vegan after reading the book?
Right. So I became a vegetarian right away that same day when I started reading. And then for, the whole vegan thing, it took some more time. But yeah, that was definitely the starting point. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to tell people that I was born a vegetarian because being brought up as a Hindu faith, we're vegetarian and my family are vegetarian. But somebody corrected me and said that we're all actually born vegan. I was like, yeah, I think we might be, right? We haven't put any clothes on. We haven't had any animal products. So yeah, we probably are all born vegan, aren't we?
That is actually a really interesting point because we just discussed this at the last AVA Summit in LA, and how we all come from these different paths of life, and like none of us was born vegan, and we all like started at some point. But I think you're actually right. That is a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, congratulations, by the way, on just the summit. It'll be great to hear your highlights because it was just this weekend, just gone. So, yeah, it'd be great to hear how it went and what was the main exciting elements that you found and what did you feel quite passionate about from the event?
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, we're all just at the end of this fantastic summit now. So everything is like very fresh. We've brought together around 850 attendees from roughly just shy of 50 different countries. So it was a very international crowd again. Everybody made it to the US, and we bring together roughly 80% of our attendees are full-time advocates. So our summits really focus on, people working professionally in this movement in nonprofit, mostly nonprofit organizations or universities, institutions, some businesses as well. And for me, really, this year, the big overarching theme was collaboration across differences, right? So I really believe that as a movement, the plant-based vegan and animal advocacy movement, we need to learn how to grow stronger together and to be strong enough to like have difficult conversations and build that resilience as a big team, right? Because we're already so small, like a few thousand people probably across the world working on this. And I really believe in the importance of strengthening this small but mighty movement and not like trying to resist to like making it smaller, with like kind of infighting and I don't know, boycotting each other and like fighting each other. So I'm hoping that AVA can play a part in, growing this movement and working past the differences that we all have, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that Plant CEO also, the show sent to Unchained TV, some part of Unchained TV, and Jane was there and she had a film crew who were filming the live unveiling of this really awesome painting. Do you want to tell
yeah.
me a little bit about that? And maybe if I can get a shot of it, we can put it into the video as well.
Yeah. So this was the first time that we have collaborated with an external artist to like reveal their amazing artwork for the first time at the summit in LA, and it was like a mini art exhibit at the summit, which is something we've never done before. It was absolutely stunning. She worked on this artwork for 6 years, which is incredible, and yeah, I think people loved it. We had a really fun little exhibit space, and some food and drinks, and I think a big success story. So hopefully we'll do this kind of collaboration more in the future. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome to do. And so now, obviously, you've been running quite a few of your summits in LA, and I think the other one is in Washington sometimes, right? You take it in, is it in Washington?
Right. So we usually alternate between coasts in the US. So we do one kind of in the West, it's usually is LA. And then in the East, that has been DC for the past 3 years. But we're actually thinking about Canada for next year. So TBD, it's not set in stone yet, but yeah, it might be on the east side of Canada next year.
Yeah, amazing. And then now you've also expanded to Nairobi in Kenya and also Delhi in India later this year as well. So do you want to tell me about that expansion that you've managed to do and, how you think it will be different in those markets compared to what you've seen already in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So, the problems that we're facing in our work are global problems, right? So, we need to find global solutions to this problem. And if we think about, some people say like, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So, what we'd like to do at AVA is like kind of establish AVA as like the water stops as we all go through this marathon. And from the very beginning, when I joined this project, it was clear to me that we need to take this to an international level, not just a US event, but really have like the whole world be part of it. And I'm not American, I'm not a US citizen myself, and I am not a native English speaker. So I immediately put emphasis on bringing people from across the world to the US, which was kind of our flagship event in the beginning. But really, what's equally important is to bring the stakeholders and the funders and, the influential advocates from the US to the rest of the world. So we're trying to do this in kind of a two-tiered system. So one, we have a travel award process or a travel scholarship process set up. So we bring roughly between 120 and 200 international scholars to the US. And then for the regional events, Nairobi, Kenya, and Delhi, India this year, and then next year we'll do one in Argentina as well, is that we're focusing on the region for the travel awards. So it's really a culturally, politically, and regionally relevant content. So close to 100% of all speakers at each international event is like from the region, and so is the attendance. Like it does really feel like an Asian event, like an African event, like a Latin American event. We're thinking about collaborating with people in Europe next year to actually put on a summit in Europe as well. We always work with local event management agencies. There is nothing better than like working with locals. We do have a very international team as well. So one of our team members is actually based in Kenya and Nairobi, for example, which really helps us to like stay as close to the local community as we can, while bringing the international expertise and, the stakeholders to the countries.
Yeah. And I think you've got, obviously, in terms of India and Africa and Latin America, Argentina, you've got massive opportunities there, specifically around India with such a high population being vegetarian. There's a big movement to make those people to understand the effects of the dairy industry with them being vegetarian is really harmful for the planet, for animal welfare. And I think that message just hasn't resonated yet enough to reach a big population. So it would be great if you can maybe explain a little bit about how you think the summit actually helps advocates in their home country.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think, India is a great example for a community and a country that has so much potential because there's already a lot of people who are kind of pushing for like a plant-based living and the lifestyle and who are doing this work too. Like the advocacy work in India, the sector is huge already. So it definitely makes sense for us to strengthen the movement there. A few examples, you're asking about how do local advocates benefit from our summit. So I
Mm.
think a few examples that I can name off the top of my head is how people benefit from our matchmaking system of like putting grantees and funders in touch. So we really
Okay.
want funders to be in the know about what is happening in India, for example, or in Kenya. What are the newest groups? What are people working on? What do they need? And then we've created a matchmaking system where like people apply to have a meeting with a funder, and then the funders can kind of pick whichever groups they are most interested in supporting. And that has been a huge help for, local groups. We have at the end of each event, we do like kind of a survey, and more than 80% of people in our last conference in Asia have said that the summit has helped them implement new strategies into their home countries that they haven't heard before. Like they meet a lot of big international groups they would have never had the chance to meet otherwise. They meet a lot of funders they would have not met otherwise. And this in-person get-together is like a very different thing compared to like doing a Zoom call or
Oh, yeah.
being in a virtual conference. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. I could see a massive benefit of just that one-to-one conversation, and they get to hear what sort of campaigns they may be working on and receive the right funding they need to do their next projects, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really a mutual benefit. Like I've just talked to someone working for MFA, which is obviously a huge mercy for animals, a huge group, very successful in many parts of the world, and they said how they're incredibly impressed by the newer groups that come to the US summit through our travel award system, and like learning from them and really, seeing all the work that's been done every day by like incredible people across the globe. And I think that's something that, is very mutually beneficial, these types of meetings.
Yeah. In terms of the last summit, can you think of maybe one of the sessions that resonated quite well with some of the advocates that were there and some that you might want to name?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, coming back to the theme that I mentioned about like collaborating and finding alignment across differences, I think this time we had an especially impressive and an interesting opening session, an opening ceremony. We usually have, a discussion panel or a keynote speaker who like is a very inspiring opening for the rest of the summit. And what we did this time was we had a conversation between Louis Bullard and Wayne Xiang, who work on very, very different types of strategies. Louis representing open philanthropy, so one of the biggest funders of our movement, and then Wayne, who is representing kind of the grassroots, more like animal liberation side of our movement. And they actually disagreed for decades at this point about, strategies and tactics and how to approach advocacy. And this was the first time that they like kind of got together publicly talking about those disagreements and how they, over the years, have not only changed their minds, but also changed each other's minds in many ways. And I thought that was a very powerful message to send to advocates across the world. And it was very well received.
Yeah, that's awesome. And are you putting any of the content up on your website or elsewhere where
Yes,
people can
absolutely.
watch? Yeah,
Yeah, very happy to link, a link to your audience as well. We have a YouTube channel that has all of the past summits recordings online. We usually record almost every talk. Some of the workshops are like more intimate and we don't. But yeah, there's a massive library online that people can benefit from.
that's awesome. We'll definitely link to that one. What would you say is your 5-year plan? Because you've already started to expand now in the India Summit, the one in Nairobi, Argentina, maybe one in Europe or Canada. Where do you see it going? More markets, higher frequency of events? What other things would you be doing other than also just the summits?
Right. So there is two things that come to my mind. Like one goal that we have for the summit, for like kind of the flagship conference type event that we do, is that our goal is for every animal advocate in the world to attend at least one of our events every year. No matter their location, no matter their budget, we all agree. I think how valuable it is to get together in person like that. So that is something that we strive
Just by the
for,
way.
like for
Really,
for the summit. Yeah.
yeah, that's a really great.
In terms of the different types of programs that we're thinking about, so one very new program that we just started this year is the AVA Academy, which is essentially professional development workshops and like high intensive trainings for like several days where people in like their mid-career level come together and spend like 3-4 days in intense workshops, which is something we can't really provide in a conference setting, right? So that is something that we're working on, different tracks. We did a 1-day pilot in LA just now that was split into fundraising, leadership, and legal policy work. And the next one will be in India, actually, later this year. So like really equipping advocates with skills and tools that increase their impact, and increase their energy too, right? And like motivate people to keep doing this work as long as possible.
That's awesome. So, yes, thank you so much for telling us about your projects and new goals, and really hope to see more of those vegans get motivated and energized with each other especially if they're coming once a year. So yeah, just want to say thank you for all the work that you've been doing.
Thank you so much, Anna. It was wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I hope to see you soon at one of our events too.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully soon. Thanks a lot and speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
Take care. Bye.